What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well. We are about 5 weeks into the Premier League season, and Thomas Frank has basically played a different lineup in every single match. And I love this personally. I love being a squad that's unpredictable. Like, this kind of stuff makes us hard to beat against bigger squads. It can really give us that slight edge whenever we need to get a win or change something on the fly. I love being a team that can constantly change depending on their opponent. But that begs the question, what is Tottenham Hotspur's best 11? Today we'll be going to go through 3 formations that'll determine what Tottenham Hotspur's best 11 is. And at the very end, I'll share my personal take on what Tottenham Hotspur's best 11. Let's get into it. Now, there's a few players that are out with injury that we will not involve in these formations. That's Madison, Deki Kulusevski, Kota Sakai, Radu Dragusin, Dominic Solanke, and I believe that's it. But those are the guys that will be excluded from this conversation. Now, disclaimer, I do not consider myself a pro tactician, no tactico, or whatever you call them nowadays. This video is purely my opinion as a Spurs fan, just like you. So if I say something that you don't agree with, sorry about it. This is my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think about the formations and what I decide in the end. Let's get right into it. All right, first formation is going to be the 4-2-3-1, specifically the formation that we had against Manchester City. Now, we won this match 2-0, played out of our minds. Special shout out to João Palhinha. He played fantastic. Richie had some great games. Of course, Mo Kudus was fantastic, but this is what it looked like. It was Vicario in goal, Spence and Porro as a wingbacks. Of course, Mickey van de Ven and Romero. You'll see that a ton this video. In our center back positions, we had a 2 double pivot with Bentancur and Palhinha. Then we had Johnson, Papsar, and then Mohamed Kudus with Richarlison up top. Now, a few thoughts about this formation before we get into the next one. I think this is a great formation. Like I said, we are always adjusting this. The formation that we decide with in the end is not going to be the end-all be-all, especially because I'm just a guy on YouTube. This has nothing to do with Tottenham Hotspur's day-to-day training and video studying, whatever. But this is going to be a great formation that we'll be able to use against teams like Liverpool, PSG. Well, no, we'll talk about PSG in a moment. But teams that are going to be we're going to be potentially facing in Premier League matches and Champions League matches. This is a great sturdy. This is what I think about this formation. Is it's very sturdy, very rigid, and we are playing as a cohesive defensive counter-attacking unit, which I loved from us. Another thing about this formation is there's not a lot of creativity. At this point in the season, we did not have Xavi Simons. We did not have Bergvall starting consistently. So the creativity was lacking big time. So guys like Sarr and Johnson and Kudus was the main outlet. The main outlet in this formation, which is giving us most of our creativity. We're hoofing it long so that we can get those balls in. Thankfully, we got those 2 goals from fantastic play from Spurs. Really played into our hands, Man City did. So this is a formation that I really love seeing us play against, especially in the matches like Man City. Our next formation, it's going to be the 3-5-2. This is specifically looking at the 3-5-2 against PSG because the only time we've played it under Frank so far. This was a very fun match to watch. As a Spurs fan, except the ending, and as a neutral fan, I'm sure you would love to watch it as well. We had Vicario in goal. We had Van de Ven, Romero, and Kevin Danso in the 3 in the back. And then as our wingbacks, we had Jed Spence and Pedro Porro with Bentancur, Palhinha, and Sarr. Very defensive. This was so much fun to watch because of this reason right here. The 2 up top with Mohamed Kudus and Richarlison. I think that these guys playing so close together in a front 2 worked so well. Because 1, Richarlison's total play was on point on the day. Mohamed Kudus was just doing whatever he wanted essentially and linking up with Richarlison. The front 2 was my favorite part of that entire match. I loved seeing the balls hoofed up all the way to Richarlison. He would trap it down, give it to Kudus, and Kudus would go and run with it, get a foul, and then we're up the field. We score on set pieces in this match. It was a fantastic match to watch. Really fun formation. I cannot wait to see who we use it against next and how it plays out with our new signings. Next up, 4-3-3. Now, specifically the 4-3-3 that we played against West Ham, because this is when our new signings came through the door. Of course, in goal, you had Vicario, you had Spence, you had Van de Ven, Romero, and Porro. In defense, midfield, you had Sarr, and then you had Palhinha, and then you had Bergvall, which is a really interesting midfield 3. And then forward line, you had Xavi Simons, Richarlison, and then Mohamed Kudus. This is a really fun formation to play, especially against teams like West Ham, which we know we won this match 3-0. Emphasis on the addition of Bergvall into the midfield and not Bentancur. And then you had Xavi on the left creating just as much as Kudus and Bergvall. So a lot of avenues of attack with this formation, which I really, really enjoyed. This was fun to watch specifically because Xavi Simons this is his first game in a Tottenham shirt, and he played fantastic. Didn't play the full game, but it was a lot of fun to see Sarr and Bergvall in the same lineup. So that was something that you can consider when you're creating your own best 11 for Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, Paulinho is a roster lock in this formation. It was a lot of fun to look at for this 4-3-3. Another thing I want you guys to notice is our defense. Consistently, until recently, it's been Spence, Van de Ven, Romero, and Porro. What are your thoughts on those four being our starting back line for the time being? Because I think it's very interesting that Udogie was left out in those games. Of course, he was struggling with injury, but since then, Thomas Frank hasn't seemed to really choose who he wants to be his starting left back. So that's really a really interesting thing to consider when deciding the best 11 for Tottenham Hotspur. Alrighty, so we've gone through three formations, the 4-2-3-1, the 3-5-2, and then the 4-3-3. Now it's time for my best 11 with Tottenham Hotspur. We briefly went through all of those just to get to this moment right here. We're going to go with a 4-3-3. Let's get into it. In goal, our goalkeeper. We've seen Antonin Kinski in the Doncaster game. Great performance from him, but for me, not quite enough. Doesn't start enough, and I think overall, Vicario is our number one goalkeeper. I was really harsh on him in the Brighton match, but overall, I do think he is our number one goalkeeper. He's a great shot stopper with great reflexes, and his distribution has gotten a lot better, which I was made aware of recently, which is super awesome to see. And our defense, I know I mentioned that Jed Spence and Pedro Porro were consistently being our wingbacks, but I personally loved seeing Destiny Udogie playing in that left back position. This is not a slight on Spence at all. I think he's a top player. I think there's plenty of games where he's going to start, and I think he should start over Udogie. But for me personally, in my best 11, I have Destiny Udogie, Mickey Van de Ven, Cuti Romero, and Pedro Porro as our back line. Now midfield, this one can get pretty controversial if you're not careful because there's so many options. There's Sarr, there's Bentancur, there's Paulinho, there's Bergvall, there's even Xavi Simons if you want to do that. There's so many options. Archie Gray if you thought he played fantastic in the Doncaster game. But my midfield in the 4-3-3 formation for Tottenham Hotspur, first person that needs to be in this lineup, first person I wrote before anybody else was listed, it is João Paulinho. That guy is the GOAT. He is so good. I love this player. I've talked about him, I think, every single video I've made since this season has started. He is going to be my number 6. In the number 8 position, I did not go Bentancur. I did not go Sarr, which, like I said, with Jed Spence, this is no slight on them. This is my personal opinion. I want to see Lucas Bergvall take ownership of this position in the number 8 because of the person he's playing with in the number 10 position. This is very controversial because whenever I say this person's name, you're gonna question like, okay, then who the heck is playing on the left? And it's going to be Xavi Simons in the 10. I think Xavi Simons and Lucas Bergvall playing in the same midfield together could have the makings to be a dynamic duo that we haven't seen for a while. I mean, we've had the best dynamic duo in the Premier League for the last decade, which is Son and Kane. I don't think it would be that prolific when it comes to goal scoring, but I think when controlling the midfield, Xavi Simons and Lucas Bergvall could be developed into these fantastic players that can control a midfield like no other. And then having that security with João Paulinho right behind them, I'm getting excited just thinking about it. Like, that would be so incredible to have. Now, with that being the midfield, the left wing position is like, okay, there's no Xavi because he's in the 10. Who the heck's going to start? Are you about to tell me that Wilson Odobert is going to start in the left wing position? And my answer to that is yes. Now, trust me, I have the same questions as everybody else. Is he good enough? Is he too young? He needs time. I have the same questions, but I think we have seen glimpses of him coming into his own this season. He just needs more games, in my personal opinion. I think that he could become a decent left wing for us in the future. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Son. I'm not saying he's going to be our long-term replacement for the left wing position, but I do think he has what it takes to play up with these guys in the starting 11 and compete for that spot. Now in January, I do personally think that we do need to go for a left wing. That should be our priority this season. But for that time being, I think we trust Wilson Odobert, and I think we give him a fair shot at this season starting in that left position. Right wing, come on. It's nobody else. Mohamed Kudus has to be in that right wing position. I think he's about to explode with goal output, assists, goals, link-up play. He's got it all. I think Mohamed Kudus needs to be in that right wing position. And then striker, like I said, Dominic Solanke would not be involved in this lineup, so it has to be Richarlison. I don't think Tell is there quite yet. I still think Tell needs time, just like Wilson Odobert, but I think the person in front of Tell is better, which is Richarlison. So I think Richarlison needs to be in there. I'm hoping he gets to pick up his run of form that he had in the beginning of the season, but I think Richarlison is our best option at the number 9 position until Dominic Solanke comes back, gets his form back, and starts playing in that number 9 consistently. So that's my best 11 for Tottenham Hotspur. Let's run through it one more time. It's going to be in goal, Vicario, Udogie, Van de Ven, Romero, and then Pedro Porro in the defense. And then midfield, João Paulinho, Lucas Bergvall, and Xavi Simons. Up front, Wilson Odobert, Richarlison, and Kudus. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about my starting 11. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who would you put in besides the players that I chose? As always, up the Spurs. God bless.